Somaliland, especially, which is the sort of north of Somalia, the northern part of Somalia, which once was independent, unified, and then regretted it, then was genocided by Somalia. By the way, very interesting little fact for Trivial Pursuit. When Somalia tried to crush Somaliland, the community of Somaliland was really represented by the Isaaq people, which are hated by the Somalians because they are seen to be sort of semi-Jewish, not true, but sort of semi-Jewish and so forth. So they genocided them. That was under Siddhi Barre, when he ruled Somalia. His top generals, one of his top generals was Ilhan Omar's father. So we see how this all plays out over and over again. But anyway,
Hargeysa Holocaust in 1987-88, in which 200,000 Somalilanders were killed. Now, you must also realize that Somalilanders are basically they belong to one tribe, that is the Isaaq tribe, and they have the Isaaq genocide, which took place under Saad Barre.
Don't think we can even start to imagine the fear that these individuals went through in their last days and certainly hours of being abducted and knowing they were going to be executed.
waxay u garaacayeen si istaba jooga oo aan naxariis lahayn. waxay dumiyeen wax ka badan 80% magaalada. waxay dileen kumanaan shacab ah halka ay barakiciyeen nus milyuun maatadii iyo bulshadii magaalada deganayda.
timadheer waxa boo degdeg arid
marqura ayay shacbiga ku dhaqan magaalada Hargeysa ay ku tooseen daryeelka madaafiicda iyo hubka culus ee dhawaaqoogu argagaxa leeyahay. Baro labadii iyo barkii habeenimo goor sheegta geeska Afrikada Bari.
Somaliland got its independence in 1960. 5 days after its independence, it voluntarily agreed to join Somalia. The objective was that French Somaliland, that is Djibouti was part of Somaliland. The French Somaliland and main Somalia and the Ogaden region west of Ethiopia, they will all get together and they will form a greater Somalia. This was the objective of their joining Somalia. Immediately after that, what happened was that the Somalilanders, they started feeling aggrieved. They were sidelined in jobs, in allocation of budget. Everywhere, Somalia had started sidelining them. But I think that could also have been avoided. But what the worst was when General Saad Barre came in 1969.
Yes.
He came there, and then we had this Hargeysa Holocaust in 1987-88, in which 200,000 Somalilanders were killed. Now, you must also realize that Somalilanders are basically they belong to one tribe, that is the Isaaq tribe, and they have the Isaaq genocide, which took place under Saad Barre. So there was a resentment, and then there came the Somali national movement, which emerged in the north, and they wanted to go for independence. They wanted to have independence. They wanted to break away from the main Somalia and form their own government. And it had the support of the elders within the country.
How about external factor involved in the making of the Somaliland or its movement?
No, there was no external factor. No. This Somaliland movement was purely internal. It was because of the grievances of the Somalilanders, which they faced from the main Somalia. Somalia, in fact, there was a UN report of 2001 which said that genocide was carried, planned and perpetrated by the Somali government against the Isaaq people of Somaliland. This was UN report of 2021. So you see, you very much understand how the Somalilanders believe.
Have been here. I believe more than 250,000 people, innocent civilians, has been killed by their own government.
I don't think we can even start to imagine the fear that these individuals went through in their last days and certainly hours of being abducted and knowing they were going to be executed. It is quite horrific.
It is very important for you to understand that we're going to give you the tools, the means for you to be able to recover, in a way, these identities from people, to dignify the dead and to give answers to the families. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that through forensic sciences. Many sciences that work pretty much together to try to find the facts behind a crime. People have the right to know. If some people are as evil and as mean as killing other people, at the very least, letting them know what happened to them, the faith, is extremely important. The idea of this project was to actually assist the government here, and they have a war crimes commission, to face the past by separating the living and the dead. The idea of the government is actually to try to put their relatives, or to hand over their relatives to her, so they can be buried properly according to Muslim traditions, because it is not a Muslim tradition, and I know that for sure, to put people all in a hole.
Most of the rounds that we're finding are 7.62, but we found one or two shell cases which are from a 45. They're probably a handgun or possibly a submachine gun, most probably a handgun. And bearing in mind this site is over 30 years old now, and the amount of munitions we're finding just lying on the surface, it gives you a bit of an idea, sheer amount of rounds that were fired in this area. The spectrum of military forensics can really cover anything from small arms ammunition, left lying around, fragments, shell cases, even splat marks on walls, right through the spectrum of munitions, right up to heavy artillery.
If you do not confront your past in order to get answers, it is very difficult to turn the page and say, okay, now welcome the future, Otherwise, it's a permanent crime. It's a crime that just never stops because you don't know. You don't have a body, you don't know if the person is alive or dead.
My mission in life is to preserve the history of this country and my people. 250,000 people who's being massacred by their government is not a joke.
For death to just simply take place without somebody remembering it.
This being a civil rather than a criminal case, the allegations against Tuke have only been laid on behalf of one man. But as we found back in Somaliland, many relatives of the victims of Siad Barre's war on his own people see the case as a chance to get justice for them all. One such person is Ahmed Musa. He told us he'd witnessed his brother being burnt alive by a man who looks very much like Tuke. The horror of the moment was even documented in a photograph.
qof saa loo eegi karayba muuhayna wuxuu ahaa un lafasaa isku sursuran oo wada gubtay oo wada bislaadeen bu waxaan odhan karaa qof yacnaa wax qof lagu tilmaamo maalintaa la dili doono muuhayn.
Ahmed had been shackled to his brother at the time, and they were both to be executed the next day.
waa lagu dilaya waan lahaa qacantaa iyo qacantaasaan iskaga xidhnay deedna markii la yidhi dil waa iminkaa la duuta yidhahdeen isagana xaggaasay u dhaqaajiyeen anigana xaggaasa la dhaqaajiyey isla intaanan gaadhin geedkaasoo kale ayaa bababababac rasaastay.
For reasons that remain unclear, Ahmed was freed while his brother was murdered.
sawirradan kan iyo kuwo kale oo jiraba sawirraya waa iska qaadeen weeyaan maaha sawirro cid kale ka qaaday iyagaa iska qaado ku faanayey darajay ku heli jireen waxaan mogta dadkii oonu gubayno maxay oonu xasuuqayno waxaan darajay ku heli jireen mogta oo xagga sare darajo kaga heli jireen tuga uu joogay haa tuga isaga waddankan haystay markaas waddankan isaga haystay wixii uu doonana ku sameynaya askari wuxuu ahaa madaxa wixii aad doonto ka tooga la yidhi amar lagu siiyey dadkana waxaa loo leynaya sida qabiil ah ma ahayn si dembiya amba sharciya lagu ooga ma ahayn si qabaayil unba dadka loo leynayay.
Suspected war crime sites with the help of a team of international volunteers. For weeks, they've been painstakingly exhuming one of the many mass graves still to be found around the village of Arapsio, near Gabile, a town close to the Somaliland capital, Hargeysa. Gabile is where Colonel Tuke and his 5th Brigade were stationed.
Priority is giving answers. Okay? The priority is putting people to rest once for all. The priority is for people to know what happened to the relatives. That is the priority. That's the most important thing.
Jose Pablo and Ipaf are under extreme pressure to finish examining the bones they have uncovered so that they can be quickly reinterred. What usually takes months must now be completed within days. Today they have invited local religious leaders to prepare the remains for a final dignified burial.
Before we bring the remains, I wanted to show you how we have been working. We have been dressing this skeleton to understand where the shots are. If it's from here to here or from here to here. And you can see the body of the sheikh. He was shot and he was stabbed with a knife on this side.
This is one person?
One person, all one person. But it is arm, chest, head.
Yet whilst there has been much opposition to the exhumation, for one man, it has helped alleviate many years of suffering. A local farmer, Hussein Ahmed, was forced to use his tractor to dump bodies into mass graves. He too has been struggling with the trauma ever since.
iyo dadkaasoo dee xaqdarrada lagu laayay baadi doonayay oo soo saaray oo dad cidle oo wehelle aan u arkaba.
But back in the US, the case against Colonel Tukey has hit a stumbling block. During the decade-long preparation of their arguments, Warfa's lawyers have been relying on an obscure, centuries-old law known as the Alien Torts Statute. The United States is not a signatory to bodies like the International Criminal Court, which tries war crimes in other territories. Meanwhile, José Pablo's team have invited relatives to examine the clothing they've exhumed to see if they can positively identify the dead.
It is important for them to understand that it is a difficult experience, and I do not want to expose them to something very painful for no reason.
One of them is Zainab Noor. She arrives with her daughter who was born while Zainab was imprisoned by the regime. She is also now pregnant with Zainab's grandchild. After some argument, they agree that only Zainab should go upstairs to view the clothing. But the difficulty of trying to identify her husband's clothing after all these years immediately becomes evident. The viewing seems only to bring frustration and yet more unhappiness. Zainab's memory loss is a result of the head injuries she sustained while she was tortured in prison. As they are leaving, Zainab's daughter collapses.
It's become very accepted in the psychiatric and psychological circles to recognize that trauma won't go away if you ignore it. And it also won't even just end with the person who was victimized. It can pass to your grandchildren. So it is something that has to be taken seriously. That trauma will live on if it isn't somehow addressed.
The day has come to rebury the dead of Arapsio, and local religious leaders have arrived to collect their remains. They stack the bones at the back of the EPAF bus. The team rides up front. The remains are offloaded and laid out for burial. The atmosphere is subdued. The community pray for the dead.
If they are not able to grieve, and they have not been able to grieve, they won't be able to get anywhere. They got this like pain stuck there, you know. So it's very important, this process of letting go and then dignifying this dead, make them human again, even if human at death.
But digging up the past has not brought catharsis to everyone.
maanta simarka lafihiisii arkay qalbigaygii ay quruxdiisu ku jirtay waxa bedelay lafihii oo iminka habeenkii markaan muddo sida lafihii baa maskaxdeeda ku duuban mustaqiiqa inaan saamaxo yaa lafta way jabantay ana wax soo buu goysin yaa anoo uur le ay dhibaateeyeen anoo uur le ninkaygi dileen يا نفبحي ويدي بان كنولاانو نفبحي ويدي بان كنولا كلبا إن انتو كسامحو iyo wixii la socday toona lagama yaabo.
And where some seek relief from the pain of the past, others would prefer justice, revenge even, and they want it close to home.
inuu Mareykanka joogo waan maqlay Turkey inuu Mareykanka joogo waan maqlay dee wuxuu sharaftiisa kale anu ma hayso laakiin dee iskaga raaxaysanaya kulli Maraykan waan maqlay laakiin anu sida Burundi iyo Uganda iyo kuwan Rwanda iyo Burundi iyo loo keenay dadkii sameynayay waxaasi dalkoogii loo keenay ayaan oran lahaa anigu hal soo transfer gareeyo arabsha hal noo keeno halkii gabiga lagu xukumo gabiga lagu tugtalo.
Whether that might ever happen is difficult to predict. Colonel 2K contests the allegations against him, and the eventual outcome of the case is still years off. What is certain is that these are difficult issues for any post-conflict society to grapple with. Winning a single complex legal battle in a foreign country might help bring a sense of justice to the people of Somaliland. But perhaps the best to hope for is that shedding light on these atrocities will stand as a warning to future generations everywhere, that they should never be repeated.